shocked.
Welcome back, Crackle Addicts. I'm Lupinefiasco. This is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing Aurora Shooting Star. For anyone who is new to the channel, what we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, explaining my thought processes for the lines I would take, and compare that to the lines I did take. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future, taking down paper events, and walking away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. If you'd like to engage further, there is a link to my Twitter, to my Discord, and to my Patreon. Without further ado, let's jump right into the action. We have lost the die roll against Florian and will be going second. We would love to go first if we could. Not really because going first helps us in this matchup, but more that Florian wants to go first, and Aurora is variable enough in her openings that we kind of get an advantage going first or second. We prefer to go second in a lot of matchups, but if our opponent really wants to go first, there are still things we could do on turn 0. Case in point, if this is our opening hand, we either get to send 15 damage at Florian with a relevant on-hit in Snatch. We could send less damage by attacking with Snatch and then lightning pressing over the top of Florian's blocks. We draw a card from Snatch. We're assuming that Florian is going to block for 6. It's a little unlikely that Florian would give us his entire hand to stop the Snatch. Maybe he is trying to build that Decompose in the graveyard, but if we have a Blink, he gets absolutely blown out. Any way to give go again, and he gets blown out. But if we Snatch, Lightning Press over the top of blocks, draw a card, and then pitch 2 cards into Aurora, that is a really good opener. Even if we're just pitching Entwine Lightning and Ravenous Rabble to make a Rune Chant, Arsenal Lightning Press and pass, that's really good. So it is to our detriment that we are going second. That said, this hand is really strong. I'd like to keep it. At a bare minimum, it can block 6 if we really need it to, and it is unlikely that Florian is going to do more damage than 6 on his opening turn. It's important to note that this hand is capable of making an embodiment of lightning on turn 0 if we block with any of our attacks and then lightning press it on reactions or in resolution. We could pitch our other 2 reds to make an embodiment of lightning. We would take 4 damage to make that happen here. I am just going to block with all 3 of my attacks and take no damage and keep this lightning press. It isn't ideal. If I could keep this Snatch without taking damage, that would be ideal. That said, this is a grindy matchup. Every life point matters. We end up getting down into it where Florian is throwing Rune Chants, and we need to decide between keeping cards to attack with or pitching cards into Lightning Greaves, and having that extra 2 life buffer is a lot more helpful than having a Snatch that we can Lightning Press on turn 1, so we are just going to completely cover this Summer's Fall. Noting that Florian has pitched a Felling of the Crown, it is not one of the attacks we would have liked to see him pitch. It's very good, but if we had seen Florian pitch a Command and Conquer or Plow Under, that would be really preferable to me. Those are the 2 cards that are going to stop us from setting up a 5-card combo, which is the easiest way to win this matchup. The hand that we draw into is sadly not nearly as good as the last hand that we had. We have a few ways that we could try and convert this. It really depends on whether Florian wants to pitch into Arcane Barrier. We could pitch Flicker Wisp into Grasp of the Arknight, make a Rune Chant, attack with Second Strike, for 1 plus, it depends. If Florian pitches into the grasp, then second strike only comes in for 3. We do lightning press it over the top of blocks, probably get 3 damage over, and then arsenal this static shock. Alternatively, we can play static shock, play lightning press, pitch Flicker Wisp into Aurora to make an embodiment of lightning, and then arsenal the second strike. I don't want to arsenal Flicker Wisp now for 2 reasons. The first being that we haven't seen Command and Conquer or Plow Under. Florian can't decompose yet, but depending on how he blocks, he could put himself into a position to be able to decompose for Plow Under. Command and Conquer would either get blocks from us or a crown, but in either case, we're not going to be able to 5-card Flicker Wisp combo. So I would rather pitch this early Flicker Wisp and get some value out of it, and that value either being 1 point of rune chant damage or whatever embodiment of lightning is worth. So if we pitch Flicker Wisp into Grasp and Florian does not pay into the Arcane Barrier, we send 1 plus 4 for 5. Static Shock is 4 plus 1 for 10, and then Lightning Press puts us up to 13. So a 4-card 13, or we send a 2-card 8, make an embodiment Arsenal. 4-card 13, no Arsenal. 3-card 8, embodiment Arsenal. The embodiment Arsenal line sounds better to me, though we are now opening ourselves up to Arsenal destruction. The 4-card 13 is just such a bad rate compared to a 3-card 8 plus embodiment plus Arsenal. In general, I do not want to Arsenal against Florian. My win rate against Florian went significantly higher when I stopped arsenaling against him. Assuming that he still has CNCs and Plow Unders in the deck, or that he still has 2 cards available on his turn, be they in hand or 1 in hand, 1 in arsenal. If you can put Florian at a point where he only has 1 card, you know that you aren't getting CNC'd or Plowed Under, then yeah, arsenal something set up. But for the most part, I try to avoid arsenaling where I can. Here we do dodge the disruption. We do just have an earth form coming in for 7, and we have a choice to make. We can convert 5 cards here. How we convert them depends a lot on how Florian does or doesn't block. But the line I see immediately is E-Strike, bottom fry, mode is draw a card. So we send 5, the embodiment gives a go again. We have Rabble, Flittering Charge, a mystery card in our hand, and second strike and arsenal. If the E-Strike hits, then we get to send second strike for 4, Ravenous Rabble for 4, probably pitch the card we drew into Starfall for 2, and then Flittering Charge for 4. And overall, that is 5, 9, 13, 15, 19. And we take 7 in exchange. Or we could block this Earth form with E-Strike, take 4 damage, and then our turn is Flittering Charge, gets go again, Ravenous Rabble, Fry, second strike, and we send what we're hoping is a 4-card 15. So we either take 7, deal 19, or take 4, deal 15. And I believe that it is better to block with the E-Strike here rather than attack with it. We're trading the same amount of value, roughly. We do get 1 less point of value overall. If we're blocking for 3, attacking for 15, that's a total value of 18 compared to a total value of 19. But the thing is, we have a pretty specific win con against Florian, which is sending a big combo at him, and we want a life point buffer so that we can keep cards in hand, or so that a Felling of the Crown, Plow Under, Command and Conquer that we can't deal with is not so detrimental to us when we're trying to set up a kill turn, that I would like to play a little more defensive early here than I would in other matchups. So I do think losing the point of value is fine if it means giving us that life buffer. It also means that we are not so beholden to the top of our deck. if we do, say we draw a red without go again, and say Florian does block the E-strike for 5, we're in a weird spot now where our second strike does not have go again, and say the Ravenous Rabble flips a blue, then we get another block from Florian, and now our second strike doesn't have go again. We haven't played a lightning card yet, so Starfall doesn't have go again. We're just in a spot now where we cannot really convert a hand the way we want to, and I really don't want to give up those early points against Florian, so thankfully Florian does take the damage. Unfortunately, Rabble does flip a blue. Yes, if we had blocked with the E-strike, Rabble would have flipped a red. We can't know that. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And we are going to E-strike for buff power. We don't want to arsenal a card, especially not when we know that the top of our deck is a blink that we aren't really embarrassed to arsenal, but we're not thrilled about it. Florian playing a very solid defense, getting 2 extra points of block from the embodiment of Earth, and managing to put 3 Earth cards into banish with Rootbound Carapace. The hand that we draw into is deceptively bad considering Face Purgatory. If I was not concerned about Face Purgatory, then I get to Flittering Charge, Somersault, Pitch Blink into Aurora, Flittering Charge, Gone in a Flash, Starfall. So we get a 4-card 14. But because I am concerned about Face Purgatory, I cannot, if I take the line of Flittering, Somersault, Aurora, Flittering, now we open the door to getting Face Purgatory because Florian will take the value of making us discard a card. And we lose the Gone in a Flash, we don't get much of a follow-up. We're sending a 4-card 10, which is pretty bad. Because what we could do instead is block with Gone in a Flash, Flittering, Somersault, Starfall, Flittering, make an embodiment, pass. We keep our Tunic, we send a 3-card 10 with an embodiment while blocking 3, so overall a 4-card 13 instead of what we have here, which we either send that 4-card 14, take the risk that we get Face Purgatory, or we could play around Face Purgatory by using Tunic, and we Flittering, Somersault, use Tunic to pay for Starfall. I suppose that doesn't really work then because we need to pitch the blink to make the embodiment. We could Flittering, Somersault, Tunic for sword, Gone in a Flash, blink, Flittering Charge. That still opens us up to Face Purgatory. This Face Purgatory is really messing with our turn cycles, and you'll find that that is why Florian and sometimes Viserai and Vincent play it. The line I like here is block with Gone in the Flash. Flittering, Somersault, Starfall, Flittering, embodiment, pass. Get that 3-card 10, and again we are playing defensively. We are blocking with our Gone in a Flash so that we can preserve life total for when we have a big turn that we want to put together and need to tank some damage to do it. I think it's also the safest line to play around Face Purgatory, which is something I actively want to do. Yes, there is an argument for making Florian use the Face Purgatory early in the game so that he doesn't have it late, but you'll find as you get into those lower life totals and you start blocking from hand more frequently, that you can put yourselves into a position where your turn is attack with a 4, keep a card in hand, they Face Purg, and it's Lightning Press. Or you attack with Lightning Surge from Arsenal, attack with Starfall, attack for 4 from hand, they Face Purg, and it's Sigil of Solace. You just have ways to position yourself so that the Face Purgatory doesn't hurt you, and at best you can actively bait Florian into using it. So yes, there is an argument to making him use it early. I don't like that argument, and I don't think that it is something that we should play for. It is something that I want him to sit on it so that we can make him waste it later. Choosing not to block, going for the offensive line, I disagree with it. I understand the argument for it, especially if I'm not going to play around FaB, but again, as I learn more about the Florian matchup, I do want to be more defensive early. I want to keep that life buffer so that I can tank the damage. This is a grindy matchup. Your games will go long. Every point of life matters, and we've pitched some early Flicker Wisps. If the game goes long enough, we'll see them again, and there is a chance that we will see them against Florian. This game can go that long. So we play the Somersault. At this point, let's really think about the best way to sequence this turn if we are not going to play around FaB, and if we're not going to play around FaB, the best way to sequence from here is to Tunic, Starfall, Gone in a Flash, Blink, Gone in a Flash. We send 10 damage and we arsenal a Flittering Charge, and I really want to arsenal Flittering here. I don't want to arsenal Gone in a Flash because we don't have Snapdragons and we don't have an embodiment. Gone in a Flash is one of the best cards in our deck. It is very good when we can set it up with Sigil of Solace or Electrostatic Discharge, but that setup involves having a way to give it go again, and when you don't have a way to give it go again, it is just Wounding Blow. And Wounding Blow, while good, is not game winning. It isn't going to put us into a very strong position. Flittering Charge is a lot easier to get value out of with absolutely no setup, while also mostly being Wounding Blow. So I would like to blink and then play the Gone in a Flash here and rely on the top of my deck to give me an instant rather than rely on the top to give me Lightning Go again, a way to make an embodiment, and an instant. We do play the Flittering Charge. We are going to arsenal Gone in a Flash. The hand that we draw into is very bad at utilizing that Gone in a Flash. The hand that we draw into would be very good at utilizing Flittering Charge. And unfortunately, one card Florian is just going to be Warmonger's Diplomacy, so we can't even block. This is just a really bad spot for us to be in, because the best way for us to convert this hand is to play Somersault targeting nothing, then pitch Flicker Wisp into Aurora to make an embodiment so that we can play Gone in a Flash from Arsenal, then Gone in a Flash from hand. We have the option to pitch Lightning Surge if we wanted to Starfall for 2. We could also Arsenal it and hope that Florian doesn't have the Arsenal Disruption. Notably, we have not seen a Plow Under or a Commanded Conquer yet. I would need to check Florian's discard, but I'm fairly certain he can decompose for Plow Under. So how risky do we want to be? But overall, this is either a 4-card 8 with an Arsenal or a 5-card 10 with no Arsenal. It's very bad. And this turn does get slightly better if this is Flittering Charge in Arsenal. We get to Flittering, Somersault, Pitch Wisp into Aurora, Flittering, Starfall, Gone in a Flash. So we send a 5-card 14, which is not drastically better than a 4-card 10. Not to the point that, like, wow, we really, halved our damage with the wrong arsenal, but it would certainly be better than this. And if I'm telling you that every point matters, then losing 4 points is pretty significant. Do I like pitching Lightning Surge or arsenaling it here? I think arsenaling it is fine. We're behind. We kind of need to try to put something together. We still have Crown of Providence, so Plow Under is the only card that really hurts us. If Florian uses Face Purgatory to block the Gone in a Flash, he's kind of chancing that he has a playable 2-card hand, and he might just not. But I do think it was probably better to pitch the Lightning Surge here. It was all bad either way. Either way, this was not a good turn for us, and it was kind of our fault. Got another Earth Form coming in, and here we're in a position where we start to see why it is bad that we were not blocking earlier. If we had blocked 3 and 3 over our previous 5 turns, and we are at 32, then I feel great going to 24, keeping 5 cards. But I feel a lot less good going to 19 and keeping 5 cards. So if we count this out, we play Arc Lightning, it does 1 point of damage. We pitch our Blink into Grasp and Starfall, that's 2 more points of damage. We play Second Strike, that's a 4th point, and Lightning Surge from Arsenal is a 5th point. This Arc Lightning on 4 cards is 5 damage, and that's great. I absolutely want to play that. I'm not going to Arsenal it or try to save it for a Flicker Wisp. This current funnel is worth 3 points offensively, 2 from its own power and 1 from the go again that Arc Lightning would give it. It's also worth 3 points defensively, and I would like to be defensive with it. If we had been defensive earlier and we were at 32, then I say no blocks, I go to 24, I keep 5 cards. But I do want to respect that we are starting to fall low on life total, so I would like to block with current funnel here. Whether I do or don't, it doesn't really affect my sequencing. This turn is going to be Arc Lightning, Pitch Blink to Grasp, Starfall, either play Lightning Surge or play Second Strike, but between Arc Lightning, Grasp, the Rune Chant, and Starfall, all dealing arcane damage, I am guessing that one of them is going to break through, that Florian is not going to pitch 2 cards to Arcane Barrier, and that the Second Strike will have go again, so I can play it from hand, and in doing so play around Face Purgatory. I take the damage from the Earth form. I disagree with that. I think we should have tried to be a little more defensive, and I would trade 3 attack for 3 block, considering that we are kind of falling behind. But playing the current funnel here is correct. This does also allow us to give our Second Strike go again, even if nothing else hits. Something has already hit, so the Second Strike is good, and that means that we can now pitch Blink into Grasp, then attack with Second Strike. Florian doesn't get Face Purgatory value. I would have liked to have pitched into Grasp before I played the current funnel, just so that I don't have to worry about breaking the chain in case Florian blocked the current funnel with his own Grasp. He would not have gotten to block with it a second time this turn. But overall, this turn is going pretty well for us. Obviously, it could be better if we had more life, but we're doing fine. I don't think we are as behind as I wanted to believe we were. Am I going to play this Lightning Surge or keep it? I'm going to play it. I already have been feeling nervous, having an arsenal, having not seen any Command and Conquers or Plow unders. The Lightning Surge is also worth 5 points of damage on an Arc Lightning turn, so I do just want to get this out of my arsenal. We get a block out of Florian. Florian keeping 2 cards in hand, could be anything. And let's see, so this puts Florian down to 15. And we'll see what we draw into. I would say that we are currently ahead in this game. It's close, but we still have all of our armor. Florian has given us the front half of Grasp. The hand that we draw into is very bad, but we do at least get to be defensive with one of these 3 blocks, and we get to decide how we want to play around Face Purgatory, if at all. We can block Reaping Blade with a Shockwave. We then have 3 real choices for how we want to play out our turn. 2 of them involve Starfall, so the first would be pitching Gone in a Flash to attack with Starfall, playing Discharge, playing Arcanic Shockwave for a 3-card 9 that does not leave us vulnerable to Face Purgatory. The second would be to use Spring Tunic to pay for Starfall, play Discharge, play Arcanic Shockwave, fuse with Gone in a Flash. That is a 3-card 10. It also gives us an arsenal, but leaves us vulnerable to Face Purgatory. The third line would be to play Discharge, play Shockwave, fuse with Gone in a Flash for a essentially 3-card 8 with an arsenal, and if we get hit with Face Purgatory, then we use our Tunic counter and pitch Gone in a Flash to Aurora to make an embodiment. So we effectively lose 1 point of damage. We are only sending 8 compared to the 9 damage line of pitching Gone into Starfall. But we get to keep an arsenal or leave ourselves open to making an embodiment. Either we play around the face perg or Florian doesn't use it. And I actually think that is our best line. Go for the quote-unquote 3-card 8 and have an out in case of face purgatory. Whichever line we take, we are definitely blocking the Reaping Blade. I mean, there's a line where we block with Greaves, and then we play Gone in a Flash, use Tunic counter to break Greaves, play Discharge, pick up Gone in a Flash, get our action point back, pitch Shockwave into Starfall, and then play Shockwave Fuse Gone in a Flash. We push more damage, but we aren't threatening lethal, and I really don't like giving up my Greaves when I could have to rely on the Arcane Barrier later. Taking the 9 damage, no arsenal line, I think this is fine, even though it is not the line I would have taken. I like it more than using Tunic to pay for Starfall, which is our highest damage line, but also the most vulnerable to face purgatory. So I think this is a good middle option, but I would have liked to pass on the Starfall this turn. You can see why we do try to avoid playing with an arsenal. Florian blocking with CNC and Plow Under, so we've now seen one of each. The hand we draw into is, it's okay. It does things, it functions. We are going to lose one of these cards to the Plow Under, the second one we've seen this game, the first one we've had played against us. Unfortunately, Felling of the Crown is on, so this is going to hit for 8. What I like doing here is baiting Florian into using face purgatory. And this is what I'm talking about, or what I was talking about earlier, where I say as you get into your later turns, you can trick them into using it. So the card we bottom to Felling is going to be Blink, and the reason we bottom Blink is we cannot bottom Lightning Surge, or else we don't have a turn. We could bottom Discharge, but then our turn is play Lightning Surge, pitch Blink into Aurora, pass. That's very bad. We could bottom Sigil, and our turn is pitch Blink, attack with Starfall, play Discharge, play Lightning Surge, Aurora, pass. We send a 3-card 9, make an embodiment. But the reason I want to bottom Blink is so that I can use my Tunic to Starfall, play Discharge, play Lightning Surge, and then I want to have Sigil of Solace, and what that does is it tricks Florian into using Face Purgatory to block the 7-power attack, and then we respond to the Face Purgatory trigger by playing Sigil of Solace. So we bottom Blink. Blink is the card in our hand that we do not need to make that happen, especially considering that we have our Tunic counter. So it should be Blink, and then we have an interesting blocking decision, which is we are at 19. Florian has Reaping Blade, so we need to be below Florian on life when we attack with the Lightning Surge for 7, so that the Sigil actually does something. And what that means is we need to not block the Felon. We need to go to 11. And what we get from going to 11 is we attack with Starfall. Starfall will have 2 power after we play Discharge. If Florian doesn't block the Starfall and goes to 12, we are still lower on life than he is. So when we Lightning Surge for 7 and Florian blocks it, then the Sigil actually gains us life. If we block for 3 here, like I am doing, then if Florian takes the Starfall damage, we cannot gain life from Sigil of Solace because Florian will be lower on life, and Reaping Blade says the higher life player can't gain life. So this just puts us into a position where we have to play Sigil in reactions rather than holding it for Lightning Surge. and we aren't baiting the face Purgatory. This turn, in reactions, will be play Sigil, play Discharge, attack with Lightning Surge. We have no cards in our hand. Florian isn't going to use the face Purgatory. So while using our armor earlier than later against a Runechant hero is fine, there are a few reasons not to do it. The first being that even if we are at 11, which we wouldn't be because we'll gain 3 life, it's very unlikely that Florian is just going to pull 14 Runechants out of nowhere. Viserai could do it. Vincent is kind of hit or miss, but Florian, very unlikely that he will pull the arcane damage out to kill us where we still have armor left on board. We are also lost my train of thought. No, we just lose a bunch of value this way, right? This just doesn't, and you're seeing me undo because I caught the mistake, but it's too late for me to really fix it. We wanted Florian to use the face Purg. That was the entire reason that we set this line up, was so that Florian would use the face Purgatory, and now he isn't going to. So we're still at 17, we're still threatening 7 points of damage, we're feeling pretty good about where we are in this game, but imagine where we would be if Florian didn't have face Purg right now. We would be feeling very, very good about our chances of winning this game. We'd be at 14, but we'd still have all of our armor, and that would be fantastic. We're also seeing what Florian's turn looks like, considering that he did not need to use face Purgatory, and it is double Arcane Seeds while Florian is active, which is very bad for us. So say that we had baited Florian into using the face Purgatory, maybe he blocks with Autumn's Touch and one of those Arcane Seeds, and now we are taking a lot less damage, and we feel pretty good about that. As it is, we are going to take a bunch of damage. Florian currently threatening 15. We really don't want to go to 2, and this hand is kind of okay. If Florian did not have face Purg, then we can maybe think about just taking a bunch of damage and keeping these 4 cards. If we could keep these 4 cards, what we get to do is play Discharge, pitch Flicker Wisp into Aurora to make embodiment, attack with Snatch for 7 go again, and then Lightning Surge for 4. We can't do that when Florian has face Purg because he can just block the Snatch and make us discard the Surge. So the next best way to play this hand would just be to pitch Flicker Wisp into AB1, prevent 2 of the Runechants, block the Autumn's Touch with Lightning Surge, and then discharge Snatch. And we get at least 2 cards at Florian on defense, or we get to draw a card. Either way, it's, fine. Do we want to block with armor here? I think blocking with grasp is fine. I don't want to block with crown or tunic. I don't think we need to. If we block 3, then we go to 7, and we're, fine. We also don't need to block with grasp. We just saw 2 seeds at a Florian. He would grasp seeds, making 6 Runechants. We could stop at least one of those. But again, I really don't want to pitch an entire card to stop 1 point of damage. So blocking with grasp there would have been a little better. Snatch draws a card. It is a bad one. We will arsenal it anyway, and we get hit with Uninteractable Disruption. Sure do love that LSS continues to print disruption that I cannot stop. So we lose our current funnel, which is unfortunate. If this Plowlander had been CNC, then we're in a really good spot because we get to crown. What does our hand do? Our hand plays Arc Lightning, plays Channel Lightning Valley in response, hopefully draws a card. We get to pitch current funnel into grasp, attack with Ravenous Rabble, then attack with Starfall. So we are pushing 1, 2, 3, 4 points of damage with the Arc Lightning. We are keeping a Channel Lightning Valley on the board and potentially drawing a card. So I do want to keep all 4 of these cards. The turn gets a lot worse if we block with current funnel or if we block with Rabble. So we can just give our Crown and Grasp here, go to 3, not crown anything away. And hoping that the Arc Lightning draws a card with Channel Lightning Valley at some point, and then we get to play that card and it doesn't just get face purgatoried away. Going with the block, going with no sync from Crown. And we're very far behind, and we're hoping that this turn can't catch us up. But it does seem unlikely. We get a blue out of Florian. We are going to pitch into Grasp and then play the Rabble just to make sure that we are as impervious to face purgatory as we can be. The decision here is, do we attack with Starfall first? It would be unlikely that we can find something on top of our deck that we get to play that Florian cannot face purg, or that we could use in response to a face purg, so I do think playing Rabble first is correct, rather than Starfall. With the Rabble, this is an interesting spot where if Florian uses Arcane Barrier to prevent the Rune Chant, then we do not have a card in hand for Florian to hit with face purgatory. So Florian needs to block the Ravenous Rabble to prevent the draw, then also needs to pitch to prevent the draw, then also needs to block the Starfall to prevent a draw. And Florian catches the mistake. We're hoping in tournament play that our paper opponent does not catch needing to let the Rune Chant connect before blocking with face purgatory, so that we do have a card for him to hit. We were so close, it was almost there, because this turn would have been really good if Florian does not get to make us discard the Snatch. I'm not going to pitch the Snatch into Aurora to make an embodiment, which would have been an option to get it out of my hand. I would rather just push 3 more damage with Starfall. Florian going down to 5, we get to keep Channel Lightning Valley. The hand we draw into is almost good, but here's Uninteractable Disruption to really ruin our day. The only way we stay alive and do anything on our turn is by bottoming Lightning Press. Our turn is going to involve blocking with Shockwave, Heaven's Claws, and then somersaulting both of those back. We could go to 1. We could also go to 2 if we put Tunic in front of the Felling as well. What do we do on our turn is kind of the question here. We will not have Somersault. We do not have a way to make an embodiment, which means that the most we can do is 5. We just have a few different ways to do that. So we can pitch Claws into Grasp, make an Rune Chant, attack with Shockwave for 1+4, or we could attack with Shockwave, fuse it with Heaven's Claws. We could also block with 6 here, Somersault, then pitch Heaven's Claws to make an embodiment, and our turn is Shockwave for 4 go again. Use Tunic to attack with Starfall for 1. I don't think any of those options are good. I would prefer to hold Tunic, not even to use it for Starfall, just to have it. Being at 1 or at 2 against a Florian who's online is kind of the same thing, because he's always going to make 2 Rune Chants with Grasp. So we're always going to have to pitch something to stay alive, and Tunic that's on can be used to pay for Arcane Barrier. So I think giving the Tunic there is a mistake, but I also think it doesn't matter because we are significantly far behind in this game. Do I want to pitch into Grasp, or do I want to fuse it with Shockwave? I want to pitch into Grasp because I do not want to have this Heaven's Claws with which to stick in my arsenal. I also want to leave myself open to, I don't know, having a card that I can pitch. I have nothing to pitch to. There is no way that I can pitch into Aurora with anything that comes off the top of my deck because I have not played a lightning card this turn, but I just don't want this Heaven's Claws in my hand. We do unfortunately get stopped by the Sink Below. We're going to Arsenal and Entwine Lightning. If we can stay alive, then we're like maybe not in the worst spot, but unfortunately we cannot stay alive. We can block 2, heal 3, take 2, and die. These Channel Lightning Valleys unfortunately coming a little too late to keep us in this game. Definitely a weird one as far as the Flicker Wisps showed up too soon, the Channel Lightning Valley showed up too late. But as you saw, we did just misplay a significant number of times. Not blocking in the early game is more of a macro mistake. I think that really varies by player, that there are going to be players who believe that being aggressive early wins you more games, and it may turn out that they're right. I think it's better to be defensive early. Could turn out that I'm right, but the one real misplay I saw was just not putting us in a position to bait Florian into using the Face Purgatory, because if Florian does use the Face Purg there, for one thing we might just take less damage on Florian's Crackback, and for another, if we get to draw a Snatch on our Arc Lightning turn with Channel Lightning Valley, we're so far ahead that it isn't even funny. So, very winnable game, and with just a little tighter play, or slightly better luck on our draws, we could have gotten there. And I think that is the Florian matchup in a T. It is very close, much more even than I think the Florians want it to be. It's just very draw dependent. Did the Florian draw Plow Under or Command and Conquer? Was the Florian online when he drew his Fellings of the Crown? It's just very up in the air, and a lot of it depends on what Florian is doing, not so much on what Aurora is doing. That can be frustrating as Aurora. There's also a very good chance that we are just supposed to play the combo equipment of Crown of Dominion and either Ironweave, and that we get better results. Even without pulling off the full Flicker combo, having Gold and Ironweave on that first Arc Lightning turn might have put us in a better position to deal more damage, and that could have been the difference between winning or losing. We didn't need our equipment aside from the block value. We never crowned anything away, and Tunic did not get us so much more value than having Ironweave on an Arc Lightning turn would have. So it's a complicated matchup. I need to put more reps into it. We'll see how the Auroras in Osaka do with it this weekend, but I will be looking forward to practicing the matchup for Portland. I hope you learned something from this game. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, be sure to Arc Lightning that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you have not already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. I am on Blue Sky, I am on Twitter, I have a Discord, I have a Patreon. Links to all of those socials are in the video description below. Catch me next time for more Daily FaB gameplay, and until then, take care.